धीमहि धियो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ नमः शिवाय 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। ॐ द्रिमिकी द्रिमिकी द्रिम द्रिमिकी द्रिमिकी द्रिम नाचे भोलानाथ नाचे भोलानाथ। ॐ द्रिमिकी द्रिमिकी द्रिम द्रिमिकी द्रिमिकी द्रिम नाचे भोलानाथ नाचे भोलानाथ। मृदंग बाजे शिव 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 मृदंग बाजे शिव 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 डमरू बाजे हर 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 डमरू बाजे हर 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 वीणा बाजे शिव ओम वीणा बाजे शिव ओम नाचे भोलानाथ नाचे भोलानाथ नाचे drimiki drimiki drim, nache bholanath, nache bholanath. Mridanga baje Shiva 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 Shiva, mridanga baje Shiva 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 Shiva, damaru baje Hara 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 Hara, damaru baje Hara 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 Hara, veena baje Shiva Om Shiva Om, veena baje Shiva Om Shiva Om, nache bholanath, nache bholanath, nache bholanath, nache bholanath. Om drimiki drimiki drim, drimiki drimiki drim, nache bholanath, nache bholanath. Om drimiki drimiki drim, drimiki drimiki drim, nache bholanath, nache bholanath, nache bholanath, nache bholanath. Om drimiki drimiki drim, drimiki drimiki drim, nache bholanath, nache bholanath. Om Shri Ram Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai.
पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय।
गंगे अनिंदवा कंदो तोडुं विलासा सदंगयादं पाद विनोदा लिंगेश्वरा निंतार तूने नीदा
तिल्ले अंबल नर राजा, सिरु में नादने परमेशा। तिल्ले अंबल नर राजा, सिरु में नादने परमेशा। अलकी तांडवा वा वा, हमें तांडवा। अलकी तांडवा वा वा, हमें तांडवा। तिल्ले अंबल नद राजा, सिरु में नादने परमेशा। तिल्ले अंबल नद राजा, सिरु में नादने
ने उदनु मये तुधि पादुं खले अलंकार पानिय रानी नेसा खले अलंकार पानिय रानी नेसा मलयद्वासा मंगा मदियानवा तिल्ले अंबल नजराजा सिर में नाद ने परमेसा तिल्ले अंबल नजराजा सिर में नाद ने परमेसा अलर्ती तांडवा वावा अमे तांडवा अलर्ती तांडवा वावा अमे तांडवा तिल्ले अंबल नजराजा सिर में नाद ने परमेसा तिल्ले अंबल नजराजा सिर में नाद ने परमेसा 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 ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय।
भोरा रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिये आज पधारो ना 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 और भोला शिवजी और भोला शंभो आज पधारो ना और भोला शिवजी और भोला शंभो आज पधारो ना भोला रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिये आज पधारो ना भोला रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिये आज पधारो ना ओम हर ओम पकड़ी ले जो हाथ मारो एक तुम्हारो सा મારા
કોની સદાવી અંગે ભભૂતિ રીતિને ચોર જમારા
ઓમ હર ઓમ જપ જપુ રે શંભુધરા નામનો એક તમારો સાથ આજ તમારો સાથ
ઓમ હર ઓમ જપ જપો રે શંભુધરા નામનો એક તમારો સાથ અજ પધારો નાથ
ભલા આજ પધારો નાથ
ભલા આજ પધારો નાથ
ભોળા રે શિવજી મારે મંદિરે આજ પધારો નાથ
ભોળા રે શિવજી મારે મંદિરે આજા પધારો નાથ
દિલીના પત્ર તમને ચડાવો હૃદયમાં તમારું ધ્યાન
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 ઓમ હર ઓમ આરતી મારી અંતર ધરજો
આરતી મારી અંતર ધરજો આરતી મારી અંતર ધરજો રે ભોળા ભગવાન આજ પધારો નાથ ઓમ હર ઓમ આરતી મારી અંતર ધરજો આરતી મારી અંતર ધરજો રે ભોળા ભગવાન આજ પધારો નાથ
ભલા જ પધારો નાથ
ભલા આજ પધારો નાથ
ભલા જ પધારો નાથ
ભલા આજ પધારો નાથ
ભોળા રે શિવજી મારે મંદિરે આજ પધારો નાથ
ભોળા રે શિવજી મારે મંદિરે આજા પધારો નાથ
ઓમ શ્રી રામ કૃષ્ણ ભગવાન કી જય
પાર્વતી પતય હર હર મહાદેવ કી જય
ताथैया ताथैया नाचे भोला, ताथैया ताथैया नाचे भोला, ताथैया ताथैया नाचे भोला, ताथैया ताथैया नाचे भोला। बम बाबा बाजे गाल, बम बाबा बाजे गाल, धिमी 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 डमरू बाजे, धिमी 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 डमरू बाजे, দুলিছে কপাল মায়, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা। গরজে গঙ্গা জটা মাঝে, উগরে অনল ত্রিশূল রাজে। গরজে গঙ্গা জটা মাঝে, উগরে অনল ত্রিশূল রাজে। ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ। জলে শশাঙ্ক ভাল, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা। বম বাবা বাজে গাল, বম বাবা বাজে গাল। ধিমি 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 ডমরু বাজে, ধিমি 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 ডমরু বাজে। দুলিছে কপাল মাল, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা। গরজে গঙ্গা ছটা মাঝে, উগরে অনল ত্রিশূল রাজে। গরজে গঙ্গা জটা মাঝে, উগরে অনল ত্রিশূল রাজে। ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ, ধক 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 মৌলি বন্ধ। জলে শশাঙ্ক ভাল, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা, তাথইয়া তাথইয়া নাচে ভোলা। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय।
Salutation to Shiva, whose glory is immeasurable, who resembles the sky in clearness, to whom I attributed the phenomena of all creation, the preservation and dissolution of the universe. May the devotion, the burning devotion of my life, attach itself to Shiva, who, while being Lord of all, transcends himself. This is taken from a hymn to Shiva composed by Swami Vivekananda. Om Namo Narayanaya, revered Mataji and dear devotees. The topic of my discourse this evening is entitled The Glory of Maha Shivaratri. Of all Hindu deities, none have appealed to the emotions of the human mind as much as Lord Shiva. Although universally acknowledged as one of a trinity, to his devotees he is Maheshwara, representing the Trinity by himself. The occasion of Maha Shivaratri celebrates this deity in all his splendor. The glory of this observance may be traced back to the very beginning of creation itself. It is said that when creation had been completed, Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati returned to Mount Kailash. Mother Parvati then asked Lord Shiva which of the many festivals held in his honor pleased him the most. Lord Shiva replied, "The 14th night of the new moon in dark fortnight during the month of Phalgun is my favorite day. My devotees give me greater happiness by mere fasting than ceremonial baths and offering of flowers, sweets and incense. The devotee should observe strict spiritual discipline in the day and should worship me in 4 different forms during each of the 4 successive 3-hour periods of the night. The offering of a few bay leaves is more precious to me than precious jewels and flowers. My devotee should bathe me in milk in the first period, in curd in the second period, in clarified butter in the third, and honey in the 4th and last period. O Parvati, there is no ritual which can compare with this simple routine in sanctity." Unquote. However, the true glory that occasions like Maha Shivaratri bring is the opportunity for the inner transformation of a spiritual aspirant. It is a trite statement that the goal of spiritual transformation is God realization. In fact, our ancient sages have kept before us the ideal God realization as the very goal of life itself. They placed this ideal before us so that we may end our bondage and realize our true nature. This ideal has been so enchanting that great souls, kings, and even princes have given up everything to realize God. This is because they found nothing permanent in the world. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, "If I knew the world was permanent, I would have covered Kamarpakur with gold, but there is nothing permanent in this world." It is most important to point out that the intensity with which a spiritual aspirant treads the path is directly related to the commitment in his or her spiritual observances. The test is, to what extent do we feel that our lives would be utterly meaningless without the thought of and striving towards God? This is what would determine the intensity of our spiritual life. To the extent that ambitions and pleasures prove satisfying to us, to that extent our spiritual aspiration will not progress. So long as worldly values continue to give us meaning in our life and our strivings, our spiritual life will remain at a mere conventional level. An individual whose ideas of God, soul, and the hereafter remain at a mere conventional level cannot attach to these the same importance and put forth the same earnestness in his strivings for them, as he or she would put forth towards questions relating to his property, relatives, and other worldly ambitions. But to an aspirant in whom faith is firmly established, the attitude is completely different. Such an individual is ready to devote his or her time, service, efforts, and resources for the sake of cherished spiritual values. This faith itself can only be established in the mind through contact with holy men and women, through reflection and discrimination, and through lessons taught by the sufferings of life. Of all these factors, contact with the holy is the source of all spiritual inspiration. To those who are thinking, how is this possible whilst living in the world as a householder? Sri Ramakrishna advises, live in the world, but be not worldly. The Master also advises all aspirants engaged in various worldly activities to take a day or two off and engage in spiritual contemplation in a solitary place. It is maintained that this will refresh the spirit and help one maintain an attitude of detachment from mundane worldly activity. Occasions like Maha Shivaratri vigils presents us with such opportunity. For the brief time of the vigil, the tongue is purified from the gossip of the world. The eyes are unexcited by the temporary glitter of the material. The ear is free from hearing mischief and untruth. Thus, Maha Shivaratri presents the ideal opportunity to reconnect with the divine, and it acts as a catalyst for transformation. And therein lies the greatest glory of Maha Shivaratri, the ability to change ourselves. Our scriptures are replete with stories which illustrate the occasion of Maha Shivaratri as being the night when the great spiritual transformation was wrought. You will all be familiar with the story of the hunter Shishvara, whose life was transformed by unknowingly performing worship to Lord Shiva on the night of Maha Shivaratri. At the time of his death, attendants of Lord Shiva prevented Lord Yama from seizing his soul and escorted him to the abode of Shiva. Later on, as a result of the merit of his worship, he was reborn as King Chitrabhanu. In the Ramakrishna Shadra tradition, the occasion of Maha Shivaratri too highlighted the glory of the occasion to the villagers of Kamalpakur, when the master as young Gadadhar played the part of Lord Shiva at the village yatra. All present palpably felt the presence of Lord Shiva that night. Another incident depicting the glory and grace that flows on the occasion of Maha Shivaratri is told regarding Swami Vivekananda, who is considered as the veritable Lord Shiva himself, born in this age. It was the occasion of Maha Shivaratri. 3 or 4 devotees were fasting with Swamiji. They wished to pass the auspicious night worshipping and keeping vigil. That evening there was a heavy shower, and the devotees were delighted to see occasional flashes of lightning that looked like Lord Shiva's matted hair. At 10 p.m., after finishing the first quarter of the night's worship, chanting and meditation, Swamiji remained seated, relaxing and conversing with others. One of his companions left the room and another went to the main building to finish a particular chore. Swamiji suddenly felt a divine power awaken within him and said to Swami Abhedananda, who was seated facing him, "Please touch me for a moment." After a little while, the devotee who had left the room returned. He saw Swami Vivekananda meditating, sitting motionless, while Swami Abhedananda sat close by, his right hand touching Swamiji's right knee. Swami Abhedananda's hand was trembling rapidly, and his eyes were closed. After a few minutes, Swamiji opened his eyes and said, "That is enough. How did you feel?" Swami Abhedananda replied, "As one feels a shock wave while touching an electric battery, and one's hand trembles, so I felt when touching you." The devotee then asked Swami Abhedananda, "Was your hand trembling of itself as you touched Swamiji?" And Swami Abhedananda responded, "Yes, I could not keep it steady even though I tried." There was no further discussion of the incident. Afterwards, all were involved in the second quarter of the worship and meditation. At that stage, Swami Abhedananda then went into deep meditation. None had ever seen him so absorbed. His whole body had become stiff, his neck and head were bent, and for a time he completely lost consciousness of the outer world. Everyone present thought he had gone into deep meditation as a result of having touched Swamiji shortly before. At 4 a.m., when the worship of the 4th quarter was over, Swami Ramakrishnananda came to the worship room and told Swamiji, "The master is calling for you." Swamiji immediately went to the 2nd floor of the main building where the master was staying. Seeing Swamiji, the master said, "Naren, why are you frittering away your power before you have accumulated enough of it? First gather it deep within yourself, and then you will understand where and how you should use it." Swamiji said later, "I was completely dumbfounded. The master had come to know whatever we did during worship. What could I do? I remained silent as he scolded me." In later years, Swami Vivekananda transferred spiritual power to others by mere wish, as predicted by his guru, Sri Ramakrishna. The Shiva-like nature of Swami Vivekananda used to remain foremost in the mind of Master during Naren's spiritual training. Once, Master saw a beam of light emanating from Varanasi, the abode of Lord Shiva, and traveling to Kolkata. Seeing the young Naren, he recognized in him the concrete form of that very light of Lord Shiva. If anybody spoke ill of his beloved Narayan, Master would stop him, saying that insulting Narayan was tantamount to insulting Lord Shiva. The brother disciples of Swami Vivekananda too used to regard Swamiji as an incarnation of Lord Shiva. When Nag Mahashay, a householder disciple, would come to the math and meet Swamiji, he would exclaim reverentially, "Victory to Shiva, victory to Vishwanath, the Lord of the universe. Today I am blessed to see Shiva incarnate." In fact, some of the brother disciples literally saw Swami Vivekananda as the living Shiva. Swami Shivananda was one of those who had such a remarkable experience. Swami Shivananda said, "Well, a very strange phenomenon occurred while living with Swamiji at the garden house in Kosipur. In those days, we all slept side by side in a room downstairs, for we did not have enough bedding. We had a big mosquito curtain and we all took shelter under it. One night, I slept near Swamiji. Suddenly, I woke up to find the inside of the whole curtain flooded with a brilliant light. Swamiji had been sleeping by my side, but now I could not find him there. Instead, there slept a number of Shivas. They wore no clothes. Their heads were covered with matted hair. The light emanating from their bodies lit up the place. I was dumbfounded at the sight. I could not understand anything at first. I thought it was an hallucination, so I rubbed my eyes and looked at it again. There slept the many Shivas, sure enough, just as before. I was amazed and sat up with wonder. I did not lie down again. Besides, I was afraid that I might touch them with my feet unconsciously during my sleep. So I spent the whole night in meditation. When the day dawned, I found Swamiji sleeping next to me just as before. When I told him about this experience, he laughed heartily." Unquote. This feeling that Swamiji was none other than Shiva was also shared by his own disciples. In 1898, the monastery was at Nilambar Babu's garden house in Belur. Sharat Chandra Chakrabarti, a disciple of Swamiji, expressed a desire to worship the feet of Swamiji, and the latter agreed. Sharat brought some datura flowers, which are sacred to Shiva, and formally worshipped the feet of his guru, thinking of him as Lord Shiva. When the worship was over, Swamiji said to him, "Well, your worship is finished, but Premananda will be in a rage at your sacrilegious act of worshipping my feet in the flower tray meant for Sri Ramakrishna's worship." Before his words were finished, Swami Premananda appeared, and Swamiji said to him, "See what a sacrilege he has committed. With the requisites of Sri Ramakrishna's worship, he has worshipped me." Swami Premananda smiled and said, "Well done. Are you and Sri Ramakrishna different?" Here, poetic license can be taken to infer that Master too was an incarnation of Lord Shiva, given the experience of Master's mother, Chandramani Devi, at the Jogi Shiva temple. From the various incidents depicted during the course of this evening's talk, it is evident that the grace of God blows incessantly, especially so on occasions such as Maha Shivaratri. It is, however, left to each individual to harness this grace according to his or her own capacity. On this occasion of Maha Shivaratri, may we be blessed abundantly with peace, bliss, strength, and spiritual fulfillment. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Om Jaya Shiva Shankara Jaya abhayankar.
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 Samba
सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर
जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर
जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर
जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर
वाघंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वागंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वाघंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वागंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
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 सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
सांब सदा शिव शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
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 जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर जय गंगाधर जय बिंबाधर वाघंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वागंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वाघंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
वागंबरधर शिव हर रे शिव हर रे शिव हर रे
जय शिव शंकर जय अभयंकर
ॐ
पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव की जय।
ब्रह्ममुरारिसुरार्चितलिङ्गं निर्मलभाषितशोभितलिङ्गं जन्मजदुःखविनाशकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं देवमुनि प्रवरार्चितलिङ्गं कामदहं करुणाकरलिङ्गं रावणदर्पविनाशकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं सर्वसुगन्धिसुलेपितलिङ्गं बुद्धिविवर्धनकारणलिङ्गं चेतसुरासुरवन्दितलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं कनकमहामणिभूषितलिङ्गं फणिपतिवेशितशोभितलिङ्गं दक्षसुयज्ञविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं कुङ्कुमचन्दनलेपितलिङ्गं पङ्कजहारसुशोभितलिङ्गं सञ्चितपापविनाशनलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं देवगणार्चितसेवितलिङ्गं भावेर्भक्तिभिरेव च लिङ्गं दिनकरकोटिप्रभाकरलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं अष्टदलोपरिवेशितलिङ्गं सर्वसमोद्भवकारणलिङ्गं अष्टदरिद्रविनाशितलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं सुरगुरुसुरवरपूजितलिङ्गं सुरवनपुष्पसदार्चितलिङ्गं परात्परं परमात्मकलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गं
लिङ्गास्तकम् इदं पुण्यं यः पठे शिवसन्निधौ शिवलोकमवाप्नोति यः मोदते शिवेन सह मोदते।
ॐ श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय।
ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। नमामि शंकर भवानि शंकर, नमामि शंकर भवानि शंकर। उमा महेश्वर तव शरणम्। उमा महेश्वर तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। धम्म परात्पर पूर्ण महेश्वर, ब्रह्म परात्पर पूर्ण महेश्वर। गंगाधर हर तव शरणम्। गंगाधर हर तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। जप शिव 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 निरन्तरम्। जप शिव 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 निरन्तरम्। स्मर हर 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 निरन्तरम्। स्मर हर 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 निरन्तरम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। शिव 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 शिवाय नमः। शिव 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 शिवाय नमः। हर 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 हराय नमः। हर 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 हराय नमः। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। ॐ शिव परात्परा शिव ओंकारा शिव तव शरणम्। शिव 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 शिवाय नमः। शिव 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 शिवाय नमः। हर 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 हराय नमः।
Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. Let us focus on the loving presence of God in our hearts. Lord Shiva is the embodiment of compassion. He is radiant, blissful, and is beaming with light. May he destroy all inauspiciousness and give us knowledge. When we meditate on the beautiful Shiva Linga, we are reminded of the unique experience that Chandramani Devi had before the master was born. As she lovingly gazed at the Shiva Linga, a radiant light emerged from the linga and entered her body. And Chandramani Ma knew that a divine child will be born to her. A verse from the Lingashtakam says, I prostrate to that Shiva Linga which is worshipped by the host of gods. It is as bright as a million suns and transforms our emotions into devotion. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Jaya Gangadhara Hara Shiva Jaya Girijadisha Shiva Jaya Gauri Natha Tvam Mam Palaya Nityam Tvam Mam Palaya Shambho Kripaya Jagadisha Om Hara 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 Mahadev Satya Sanatana Sundar Shiva Sabke Swami Hara Shiva Sabke Swami Avikari Avinashi Avikari Avinashi Aja Antarayami Om Hara 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 Mahadev Adi Ananta Anamaya Akala Kaladhari Shiva Akala Kaladhari Amala Arupa Agochar Amala Arupa Agochar Avichala Aghari Om Hara 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 Mahadev Brahma Vishnu Maheshwar Tum Trimurti Dhari Shiva Tum Trimurti Dhari Karta Bharta Dharta Karta Bharta Dharta Tumari Sanhari Om Hara 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 Mahadev Satchita Ananda Rasamaya Karunamaya Data Shiva Karunamaya Data Prema Shudhanidhi Priyatam Prema Shudhanidhi Priyatam Akila Vishwatrata Om Hara 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 Mahadev Mama Ati Dina Dayamaya Charana Sharana Vijay Shiva Charana Sharana Vijay Sab Vidhi Nirmala Mati Kar Sab Vidhi Nirmala Mati Kar Apana Kari Lijay Om Hara 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 Mahadev Om Jaya Gangadhara Hara Shiva Jaya Girijadisha Shiva Jaya Gauri Natha Tvam Mam Palaya Nityam Tvam Mam Palaya Shambho Kripaya Jagadisha Om Hara 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 Mahadev Om Hara 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 Mahadev मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्ष मङ्गलाय तनोहरि सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय, महामाय की जय, स्वामी जी महाराज की जय, गंगा मात की जय, महावीर स्वामी जी की जय, सर्व ऋषि मुनियों की जय, पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की